Barry Season 2 picks up right after the events of Barry's unraveling in Season 1. He was forced to kill his army friend Chris, along with Detective Janice Moss. He had feared that his friend Chris was going to rat him out, so he killed him. And also, Janice Moss, she was on him throughout the whole season. She had a feeling it was him. She had an inkling it was him. That's why she didn't want to get into a relationship with Gene. But she figured it out. She had him dead to rights, and he had the gun hiding behind the tree, so he killed her. But, in his opinion, he is a hitman out of the game starting now. The first scene we get in Season 2 is with Fuchs' new hitman attempting to pull a job for a new client. Things go smoothly at first, as he kills both of the men in the apartment. The struggle happens, however, when he realizes he was given the wrong combination to the safe that he was attempting to crack open. He decides to shoot the safe at point-blank range. The bullet ricochets off, gets him in the leg. Not good news for Fuchs, who is learning that replacing a hitman is not as easy as he thought. The new hitman then shows up to the motel where Fuchs and the new client are waiting. There's sirens blaring behind him, and that should be an obvious sign that something went horribly wrong. Fuchs doesn't seem to notice this. He casually opens the door and tells the new client, "You gave us the wrong code." Out of nowhere, the new hitman is killed by police. Fuchs then plays innocent, puts his hands up, and surrenders. Enter Barry for the first time this season, as his acting class is in disarray from Gene missing with his girlfriend Janice presumed dead. Barry convinces the class that the show must go on, and he says he will direct, basically denying Janice's death, trying to keep hope that she's alive, and he's trying to put all this in the past and move on with his new life. Now we are shown what NoHo Hank is up to. Hank is loving the new truce he has made with the Bolivians. He says they are super great at acquiring cargo, while Hank's team is really good at repackaging said cargo. To Hank, all is well. The bromance between Cristobal, the Bolivian boss, and Hank, the acting U.S. Chechnyan boss, has grown even more since Goran was murdered by Barry, going so far as to call Cristobal Baby Tony Robbins. All is going well for Hank until Esther, head of the Burmese crime family, shows up. Hank doesn't like her sight immediately because apparently she is his biggest competitor. Cristobal sees a very big opportunity here for all three of these families to work together. She says she has a monastery that allows her to bring whatever she wants into the country, including heroin. Cristobal has been wanting to get heroin into the rotation of the illegal goods they're dealing, so he wants to bring her on board. Esther says that her and her team would provide smugglers and assassins, while Hank and Cristobal would provide a safe house as storage for all their stolen goods that they are going to sell. Hank says his Chechnyan men are already great soldiers, while Cristobal kind of laughs it off. Then, out of nowhere, Esther decides to stab herself in the hand to show how tough she is, pretty much ending the debate on who is more badass. Hank is now forced to work with his biggest enemy. He has no choice because Cristobal has already made up his mind. Barry then checks in on Gene at the perfect time. Gene is being interviewed by the police, and he is telling them that he is convinced that Janice is not dead. He thinks she might be out there missing, or maybe she is dead and her body's just out there, so he wants the cops to just keep searching the grounds. Detective John Loach, who was Janice's former partner, he's convinced that the Chechnyans killed her or took her, and that there's no reason to search the ground because he is sure that she is dead. Then we go back to Hank's stash house. He receives a bullet in the mail as a threat. The Chechnyan bosses back in Chechnya believe that the Bolivians killed Goran and that Hank is now working with them, so that would make Hank a traitor. Hank then comes up with an idea to get him and Barry out of this situation. Blame the murder on Esther. Hank shows up as a master in disguise to Lululemon, Barry's job, to tell him about the situation. He wants Barry to kill Esther to tie up all the loose ends, because Hank did give Barry the heads up that Goran was trying to kill him, basically taking Barry's side over Goran and letting Barry kill Goran. Barry also saved Fuchs in this act. Oddly, Barry has no time for this, telling Hank he doesn't fucking care, and he also calls him an idiot, and he demands him to leave his workplace. We then see Fuchs being questioned by police, and they also get DNA from a Coke can that he was sipping, saying that he has no problem complying with the law. Back to the acting class. They are ready to put on the show, as ready as they can be without Gene, and then all of a sudden, Gene shows up. Gene then says to the crowd that is sitting there waiting for the show to begin, "I wasn't here to oversee this production, so I cannot allow this play to go on with my name attached to it." Gene also tells his class that he will be shutting it down and closing the class for good. But Barry pleads with him to stop and think about this. Gene then counters, saying talking about Janice right now would be just as hard as you talking about the first time you killed a man in the Army. Within seconds, Barry starts recalling this moment. He starts setting up the scene of the first time he killed someone in battle. Gene, seeing what is happening, motions for two classmates to go on stage and to reenact the story as it was told by Barry. Although Barry does hide how he really felt after killing 3 men with a sniper from 700 yards out. He feels like he belongs, and he loves the feeling. Whereas he's trying to let Gene and his classmates know that he regretted it, and he was acting as if he was a broken man right then and there. Gene is inspired by this, and he agrees to let the class keep going, and tells the class he will see them all tomorrow. As the class exits, Sally walks over to Barry to show her appreciation for him saving the class, but rejects his request to hang out, putting her schedule first, typical Sally. She does assure him, however, that she will find the time to squeeze it in. Hank is then seen waiting by his car in the parking lot, right in plain view of the entire acting class. This moment makes Barry immediately angry as he charges over to Hank, but this is not the fun-loving Hank we know. He's gone in this moment. He demands Barry kill Esther, or he will tell the Chechnyans who actually killed Goran, and then says the Chechnyan mob will kill him and anyone else he loves. This really shocks Barry to his core. I'm sure Barry had regretted his earlier meeting with Hank, thinking that he could have done this a better way. But here we are. Hank then ends the conversation by saying, "Don't fuck with me, Barry. It's not polite." And then he drives off listening to pop music. Remember the Coke can? Well, it turns out the DNA matched the tooth that they found in the garage Goran was murdered in. The tooth belongs to Fuchs. Detective May, John's new partner, tells John that Fuchs is from Cleveland. She then leaves the room. John then has a moment of clarity, thinking back to all the times that Janice was suspicious of Barry. Now he is starting to think the shadowy image they received of the suspect, the only evidence they have of the suspect, looks a lot more like Barry than he initially thought.
Thank you for watching this recap. If you do not see the next one up in the corner right there on the end screen, don't worry, it'll be up shortly. Please consider following the channel. That'd be cool. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you don't, there's a thumbs down button for a reason.